Hello, everybody. Good morning and welcome to Awaken Your Spirit. Today we are, I'm Julie Murphy, and I wrote a book called Awaken Your Wealth. And be sure to go to juliemurphy.com because I'm going to be giving away a free copy of my book in the next couple weeks. We're just finishing up the funnel because our world needs financial healing now more than ever. And I know my book can help you on that path, which I've been working with hundreds of clients through the years. And money is just the result of everything else in your life. And so it's super important for us to address the things from our health structure, from our relationships, to our work life, because these are the areas of our life that when money is the result, and these other areas, if we're not doing things from a heart-based consciousness, the money doesn't show up, or the money is not sustainable in our lives. And the reason I started bringing 𝘵𝙬𝙧𝙀, my friend David here, on for Awaken Your Spirit is because he does this work to help you activate your soul and get yourself going. But the problem is many of us are stuck in pigeonholed in the lifestyles that we don't know how to unplug from and plug into something that more feeds our heart and soul. And so through this series, with David, it's to help you kind of get over that hump and to get to the next place. So David, tell people about some of the work that you do.
Well, good morning, everybody. So I'll start off with, ultimately, this is a vibrational universe, and how you're vibrating, which means how you're feeling, and what emotions you're projecting, definitely will affect the entire field around you. So, you know, and when you have those days where you feel good, you just kind of switched on, you know, you just get up and you go, I know this is gonna be a good day. And whatever comes along, whatever obstacles, you just go, yeah, I'll deal with it. And there are other days where, you know, you're just like, you get up and you're like, oh my God, I got to drag myself through another day. How am I going to get through this? Because the mind is active, the mind field, if you will. And already the mind is, you're behind because it's attacking you. Okay. It's
right.
And so it's really about how to gain personal mastery over the mind and over the emotions. And so what's happened is that, you know, from the time we're born, we are being programmed, and we are told who we are.
So I'm Irish, I'm Catholic, I'm a female. It was like females in my world were supposed to be barefoot and pregnant and not be career chicks like myself.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're programmed. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so what happens is that programming is like, really is such a major part of us that we don't even know it's a program for the most part.
So
and then as we start going through life and having different experiences, we're going, this is good, that's bad, and we create a story and we get trapped in it. And, you know, and I
perpetuate the story.
Yeah. I hear some people say, that's my story and I'm sticking to it. And every time somebody says that, I'm like, I wouldn't do that if I were you. It's probably not a good idea.
Well, and when we do that, when we say this is my story and this is what I'm sticking to it, what I always say is it's a suffering cycle after a suffering cycle after a suffering cycle. Like, you create your own challenges in your life by not shifting to where you are being called from a heart and soul perspective. And I see this with clients all the time because they say, yeah, I'd like to do that, but. And I'm like, no buts, no coconuts. Like, don't do that. I really want people to hear that, because we do perpetuate these stories, even though we have all these really good reasons why, but we have to toss that out. Like, we really do have to toss that out because it's not serving us very well. And this is, if we had more people who were truly happy and truly blissful in their lives, we wouldn't have all the stuff that's unpacking in major ways in our world right now. So this is where I feel, David, and certainly correct me if I'm wrong, that we are being called to go inside. We have to go inside and say, there's all this crazy. I mean, right? We're on election day. Today's going to be crazy in America, right?
You think?
And we have to understand that as crazy's going on around us, go inside. What is going to create your personal bliss, your personal happiness, so that then you can be that bright light for the world, because you came here to do something that nobody else is better than you. And the question is what is that? Like for me, it's being a female financial planner and letting my freak flag fly with doing an awakening series to help people on their soul's path. But we all get trapped on the money stuff. So this is about untrapping us to get busy doing the work we're meant to do in the world so that more money can actually come to you. That's what people don't realize.
Right. And so really initially it's really about connecting into your authentic self. And you probably go, well, what is that?
Right.
And, you know, the authentic self is connected to your heart. It's connected to the very core of you, but has nothing to do with your story.
Yeah.
It has to do with what's true for you. And so that awakening process of that reconnection with your heart, with your soul, and the clearing of what is not authentic for you, right, is part of an energetic process that is like, it's really not optional, it's mandatory. So it's sort of like really cleaning house. And as we work energetically today, every time we kind of move into these energetic experiences, we're shifting, we're clearing out old junk, old consciousness, old.
Right.
So the emotions also are a big part of the being trapped, because what happens is that every time you feel a really strong negative emotion, it takes you into your story. And right away, so when you should probably be the most present and aware, you're emotionally internally in this story, so that you're like, God, how did I get here again? Right. And so this is about transformation. This is literally about you coming into a whole new awareness. And it's really kind of exciting. Once you connect into your heart, you connect into your soul, and you go, you know, I am stepping out of my story, and I'm going to be very clear and very conscious about what I choose,
right,
to focus on, because, you know, and what people realize is all of a sudden you get triggered, right? You're having a great day, things are going along, and all of a sudden you're triggered, and you're like, oh, now I'm in a really not great place.
Spiral.
Right. Spiraling down, and you know, maybe in a free fall, right? And it's like
so true.
Right. And I mean, being in a free fall while you're in a business meeting is a real challenge, isn't it? Because you have to pretend like you're okay when you're really not.
So many of us have figured out how to maintain those triggers in business settings.
Right.
But it's like when things happen in your life that are unexpected, you know, I think about, I remember the first time that you shared with me, you're like, oh, you need to give more love and gratitude to your ex-husband. I was like, what? And I was like, and because what that does, it's just like when I talk about debt for people on the financial front, that when you have debt, if you don't interrupt that cycle of how are you going to rely on something besides your credit lines in your life? If you don't interrupt that cycle, you're going to stay on that treadmill. Our emotions and our stories are exactly the same thing. That if someone doesn't interrupt the cycle, because your emotions, your words, and your thoughts are all vibrating wavelengths that go out to the world, and it just brings you more of whatever you're feeling, speaking, or thinking. And so we have to be very mindful of what those things are. And I remember, you know, in my meditations every day, I would send to my ex-husband gratitude for the 4 beautiful babies that I have, regardless of everything else that occurred. And then eventually there was a major shift, which was great because it matched more of the interruption of what I wanted to put out in the world, instead of repeating the patterns of what created it all to not work out in the first place.
Right. So, you know, so the problem is, and people go, okay, I want abundance. I want more money. And then you, all of a sudden you're triggered emotionally by something, and everything that's not enough starts coming up.
Oh, you know? I'm not enough. I'm not worthy. I'm not loved. Yep.
Right. And so, you know, it's like having one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake, which will put you into a spin, really. A big
literally
spin.
If you were driving a car.
Yeah, right. Exactly. You know, but and so it's about really the reconnection, okay, of connecting into the heart, connecting into the soul, connecting into the authentic part of you, and then the clearing away of a lot of negative emotion and negative programming. And so, you know, I know people that, you know, they have a lot of money, but they don't have personal wealth, which means
they're not embodying a state, what I call real wealth.
Right. So they're not feeling love. They're not feeling joy. They're not feeling bliss.
Totally.
They are suffering. And so, you know, there's kind of nothing worse than when you have everything and you have nothing. It's a big problem.
Rich but empty is what they call them, because anyone who is, I call the poor, the debtors, dreamers, or accumulators, they believe that once they've amassed a certain amount of money, then they're going to find true happiness. But what happens is you get there and you're in your 50s or 60s because you've worked your whole life and you think that you've now arrived. You have this gaping hole that you're like, this doesn't feel like I thought it would feel. And so I decided a long time ago that why would we wait to have this feeling? Like, you don't have to go from being a dreamer to wealthy. Like, it's not a linear line. Like, it's about interweaving your happiness in whatever reality it is that you are sitting in, which actually then brings you more money, brings you more happiness. It brings you more of the things that make you giggle on a daily basis.
You know, I don't really know if I ever talked to you about this before, Julie, but a lot of wealth and money came to me at a very young age, and also a lot of material abundance. And the thing that I learned about that early on was that everything looked great, but I didn't feel good. I was in a tremendous amount of angst and fear all the time. And that's really what set me on a journey of a spiritual path. I was like, you know, it doesn't matter what I have. If I'm not feeling good, it's just stuff, you know?
Right.
And so, you know, I chased stuff because I thought if I got it all put together and it looked right, it would feel, you know, then I would arrive. Well, I was actually really disappointed, but then it set me on a spiritual path. Right. And so it was like the real key is to merge where you're really connected to your heart, you're connected to your love, you're doing really what you want to do, being around people that you want to be around. And so when you have that kind of flow and energy and love and creativity coming through, and then you combine that with your material wealth,
right,
then you have it all.
That is such a true statement. And that's the perfect marriage. So the challenge and why we're doing what we're doing this morning is because sometimes we just need supports along the way while we're trying to transition, because so often I consciously thought that I knew what I needed along the way, but you know what? Like, I had no idea. My kids right now their school is closed down because of quarantine and stuff like that. And I just needed to like connect. So you can see I'm obviously in a different background here, that I just was like, you know what? My kids just need to be kids and they need to go play outside. And they need to, I'm down in Texas right now at my brother's house, and we're figuring out remote schooling and working while we're in Texas. Like, we don't necessarily always know. Like, if you would have told me that I would be remote schooling 4 of my kids and working from Texas, like I would have never known that, but I have to tell you, my kids doing Halloween Texan style was like a new adventure, you know? And like we were giggling and laughing in the fact that they don't give away a lot of chocolate. And I'm like, oh, maybe because it's so hot down here, it melts because they have all the other candy. It's really funny, like different things, you know? So you don't know what that happiness and bliss is going to be until you just start following your gut as to the next right step. Because you don't have to solve it all at one time. We're all in our version of a suffering cycle. And the question is what is the next right step for you to get into a place of abundance and bliss and happiness, despite the fact that it could be super scary at times. And so that's where I think this energy work is super important. That will walk you guys through this morning, because it can help you along the way get there, and it will actually like cause things to blossom more in your life, more than you ever could have imagined.
So Julie, what I really hear you saying, and you know, I think for all of us, we're in such tremendous change, and I like to call it transformation, is that in that adventure of breaking out of everything that we've known, it's like we're literally being called to awaken, that we cannot stay in the mental framework entirely. We have to like really kind of switch on now into our heart levels, our soul levels. We need to use everything that we can to increase our capacity as an awakened human. So we're being called to awaken on a lot of levels. And, you know, part of the adventure is, you know, once we kind of break out of whatever we've been doing, you know, is that part of that adventure is we don't always know everything we're doing. So life becomes a bit of an experiment.
Well, and this is where I really stress to people, it's like you have to let go of your inner control freak. Because that is just a coping mechanism. It's a stress response to trying to control everything in your world so that you feel less anxiety and more comfortable day in and day out. But you really do need to release that inner control freak and say, you know what, it's going to be okay that it's not so perfect.
Right. And, you know, I know your children, and I know what a good mom you are, and how great it was to just kind of break out of Chicago, you know, and that whole environment that's going on with the COVID right now, and bring the kids, you know, to where they're
out in the country
with the land and the trees and nature, and, you know, and not in a high rise, you know,
not in a concrete jungle.
Yeah. And, you know, I mean, it's like, well, the high rise is beautiful, no doubt about it. But, you know, it's like, I watched you morph from one situation to another. And so part of that is being willing to be fluid.
Right.
And again, I want to highlight adventure. It's like breaking out of all the programs that it's like, it opens us up, it frees us up. And so there's another piece of this also that I really found that's important in my life, is also getting ourselves physically active. And that means body, mind, spirit. Because if you're not feeling well physically, it's really hard to be in a joyful place and creating the dreams of your life, because then everything becomes about the physical, right?
Yep.
So it's body, mind, and spirit, and it's all of this. So right now we are in our country in times of a lot of chaos, and we need to find our own peace. We need to find our own joy. Not look outside of ourselves so much for that, but really generate that from within. And then once we can master that, then perhaps we can share it with others.
Absolutely.
Make a difference.
That's beautiful. Well, would you like to bring us all into the energy work?
Sure. Let's do it.
Excellent. Okay. All right. Let's go.
For those of you that this might be your first time with this, you can't do it wrong. Just kind of just go with however things flow for you. Okay. See what opens up.
Absolutely.
But I'd like you to go inside. I'd like you to go into your heart, into your center, and into your core. And so I'd like you to use your imagination, and I'd like you to imagine yourself in a pyramid of 24 karat golden light, a huge pyramid like the pyramid of the sun in Teotihuacan or the pyramid in Giza, but a very large pyramid. And we're going to stack 13 of them on top of each other because 13 is a magical number. And at the base of that pyramid are 3 circles of light of 13 mama dragons, 13 pointed stars, and 13 dream weavers. And I want you to feel a 24 karat golden light come into your toes, your arches, your heels. And I want you to feel that golden plasma light moving up your legs, moving into your hips. And when we come to the base of your spine, we're going to place a central sun, a radiant sun at the base of your spine. I want you to feel a lot of energy at the base of your spine because that's where you start to power up, okay? We're going to bring that energy up the spine. And when we get to your heart center, I want you to feel, again, we're going to place the central sun in your heart, and I want you to feel the radiance of that sun. I want you to feel really, feel the energy of your heart and that sun in your heart, if you will. And for you, those of you that are used to working with energy or meditators, I'd like you to just open your heart to where you're really feeling this flow of energy and joy. And we might even go a step further and say, even an energy of ecstasy. That's what happens. So the heart becomes the generator. The heart becomes the very center of your universe once you open it up. And so we want to just feel that love. And for the mothers out there, I want you to just open up to how much you love your children. Feel that unconditional love that only a mother has, and that joy. All right, so we're going to continue then bringing that golden light up your spine. Feel it flowing into your shoulders. Feel it flowing into your upper arms, your lower arms, your hands, your fingers. You should feel a little central sun in each palm and each fingertip. Just feel that energy moving through your body. And we're going to now go to your brain stem. And we want to place the central sun at the brain stem, feeling the radiance of that. Feel it starting to activate your whole consciousness. And I want to connect the central sun at the base of the spine with the central sun at the base of the brainstem through a toric field of light. For those of you that don't know a toric field, we'll just call it like a figure 8. So there's a figure 8 of golden light that goes from the base of your spine through your heart up to the brainstem and back, like a figure 8, recirculating golden light. And that's just going to continue. And so we're going to go back to the brainstem and that radiance. And I'd like you to feel that radiant light really activating the neurons of the brain. And we're going to connect activating the thymus, the hypothalamus, and the pituitary glands. Pituitary is in the very center of the brain, and that is the pituitary gland connects you into your higher levels of consciousness. So we're going to take that pituitary gland and we're going to insert a central sun in that, really activating that. And I'd like you to feel just kind of a radiance and a luminosity as the neural structure of the brain is fully activated, we're going to activate your holographic and multidimensional brain capacities for higher brain function, as well as connecting into your galactic levels. There we go. I want you to feel just a radiant sun in your brain. And from there, I'm going to have you spiral out your third eye, out your crown, out the apex of the pyramid. And we're going to start traveling as light in form, plasma light, golden plasma light in form, traveling through the galactic corridor, through the galactic gateway, through the initiate. And we're going to move directly into beautiful fractals of light and a beautiful kaleidoscope of fractal light. And so as this kaleidoscope of fractal light is now moving in a clockwise direction, and at the very center of that kaleidoscope is a radiant all-seeing eye or oculus. I'd like you to just start moving into that. So that's like a central sun. I'd like you to start spiraling into that radiance, that sun, to release any and all negative thought form or consciousness. Just start projecting it into that kaleidoscope and into that central sun. As you're doing that, feel the connection of the sun coming into your heart, really activating your heart. So as this is occurring, we're reorganizing your energy field, okay? So the point of all this is that as this light comes into your field, we're reorganizing and reconfiguring your consciousness, your whole emotional, mental, and physical vibrational fields. I just want you to start to really open the heart. Feel you're merging with all that light, really opening and clearing. There you go. Moving beyond all thought, just connecting into the heart. And as you move into the heart, what happens is, as we release the mental, we start realizing that the heart has its own intelligence, and that comes in a form of knowing. And just kind of open up your knowing. And oftentimes we'll know things, so we don't even know how we know them. We just know them. And so I'm sure that just about everybody has had times where your head's telling you one thing, you're knowing, or your heart's telling you something else. And usually if we go against that knowing, we learn that that was a mistake. That to go with the knowing is very important. Because as you become masterful at connecting into this knowing, into your heart, you'll realize that level of your being is like a laser. It's very accurate as that capacity develops to go straight into the heart or the core of something. And you know, I had this experience with my daughter, and we were one of her friends just getting married, and we had planned this trip. And my knowing knew that we weren't going, but my rational mind could not figure out why. And so I was like, you know, I kind of went along with the plan, but I just had this knowing that everything was going to change. And sure enough, it all shifted. And ultimately what happened was great because my daughter came to visit me instead of going to the wedding. The wedding was a Zoom wedding ultimately. So, you know, when I have those hits, if you will, those experiences, I am, you know, oftentimes I'll start to move forward, but I won't fully commit because I feel like everything's going to shift. And I think as we are traveling through kind of uncharted territory right now in our country and our lives, that we need all the tools available to us to navigate the journey, which is ultimately going to be about an extraordinary awakening, about you know, we're literally in a metamorphosis. And I always like to use that word metamorphosis, from the caterpillar to the butterfly. And so, you know, the caterpillar at some point dissolves into liquid before it becomes a butterfly. And so, you know, in that liquid state, everything is undefined, not clear. But that doesn't mean that there isn't a very profound process of transformation occurring. We don't have to understand it. In fact, if we understand it, it's probably not happening. This is the journey into the heart, into the soul. So the soul is that part of you that is always connected to source, that you are part of source. And as we get out, move beyond the story of our life and can get into that level through our heart to that place where we're eternal beings, that level view, as that starts to birth, will be such an incredible gift, because it will really bring you into states of awareness, states of joy, states of creativity you couldn't have imagined. And so that's why doing this energy work, okay, opening the heart, taking the time every day to give to ourselves, that sacred time to ourselves, where we get ourselves vibrationally lined up. That means mentally, emotionally, spiritually, we come into a place of alignment within ourselves that is sacred time. And then we continue with our day. Okay, so I'm going to really accelerate the energy for a moment, and then we'll just, I'm going to just see if you guys can really open up to this, following your bliss or following your ecstasy. You know, for me, it's, and I say it's a vibrational universe, the most important part of my world is making sure that I'm vibrating in a ecstatic or blissful place as much as possible, because I know that vibration is creating my world and creating my reality. And not only that, but it's also whoever I come in contact with is a recipient of that energy. Because that's, you know, I've learned over time, I've learned a mastery that is what my gift to the world. And for a long time, all I could project was a lot of negativity and fear, because that was the world that I lived in. But over a period of quite a while, I learned to move into a whole nother level of my being. So now we are being supported. It's like the entire planet is being supported energetically. You know, the sun is becoming very, very primary part of our interaction. I spend time every day just sun gazing, taking in that light, taking in those light codes, because we're literally, as I said, in a metamorphosis. We are coming into a place of evolution. And so part of the chaos that we find ourselves in is in that transformation and change. So it's, you know, is the world falling apart or is it falling together? And your world can fall together by the way you focus and your intention. So it's always a great joy to be with you and share energetically. And I wish all of you a blissful day.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and remember, we are the creators of our lives. And we can get into this blissful state by ourselves. But I have found that when you work with somebody who has mastered this more than you have, that it helps you along your journey a little faster. Our ego minds really think we can do it all ourselves. But in reality, we're all connected and we're all one. And my gift is how to get you to navigate out of your money world to live a life of real wealth and true happiness all along the way, regardless of your circumstances. And David's gift is to help you vibrationally and energetically put you in a state to help support you to attract what you want and no longer attract what you don't want. So continue to join us here on Tuesday mornings, and or you can also get a hold of David to do this work one-on-one. David, how do they get a hold of you?
You can reach me at 𝐾𝐻𝙧, �GILARDY.com. And I have a website there. So a lot of my clients are business professionals, and they will call me sporadically through the week, and they're like, I'm just about to enter a meeting and my energy is just all over the place. Can you help me align it? Mm-hmm. And I'll go, sure. What's your intention? What do you want to do? So there's a very practical point. And yes, it's taken me years to get to where I have. But it's, you know, I'm available to help people get aligned, whether, you know, it's a marriage issue, if it's a business issue, whatever. I'm very masterful at aligning energy and aligning it almost immediately for you. So
yeah, one of the things that I have found the most amazing in working with you is that you hold a state of neutrality that holds the space of, we don't know what is the highest and best for ourselves necessarily all the time. We think we know, but we don't really necessarily always know. And you really help hold the space of, we're not really sure, but let's just hold it for what's the highest and best on a soul level for that to come into being. And I have never met anyone who does that so well and helps you zone in. So I would encourage any of you that really want to do more of this work to reach out to David at 𝐾𝐻𝙧.com. And don't forget, I am giving away a free copy of my book, Awaken Your Wealth, because it is time for our globe to heal financially. And I will be starting that in the next couple weeks. So go to 𝑗ulieMurphy.com, and if you give us your email address, then you'll be notified when we'll be doing that. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Have the best Tuesday ever, and I'll talk to you soon.
Bye, everybody.